People often think of watchmaking as an industry or a craft that is heavily guarded. The knowledge is kind of kept secret, but I don't really think that's true. I think that because of how few people still work in the watchmaking industry, that it seems like it's secretive, just because there's so few of us, so few people with that amount of knowledge. And the knowledge is really the main barrier to getting into watchmaking. Where can you learn? Where can you find the tools and the literature and somebody else to learn from if there are so few watchmakers out there? As an American watchmaker, it's even more challenging. In Europe, you're able to go to Switzerland. There are many more opportunities to learn watchmaking, and there are many more watchmakers in Europe than there are in America. There's the barrier to entry due to language as well. Most watchmaking is in French or German. Even the textbooks and books about watchmaking are rare. They're printed in such low volume that they could be really expensive. They may have been out of print for 30 years, and so they're considered collectible. So all of this knowledge is there, but it can be really hard to obtain it. You could very easily spend thousands of dollars on books and tens of thousands of dollars on watchmaking tools, and you still won't have any watchmaker to help walk you through the process of learning. It's very hard to read these things in a book and to figure it out on your own. It would take a lifetime. Even a lot of my books are actually not in English. They're in French and German because they're so rare. I can't find English copies. So I've had to figure out how to read some French and pick from those books what I need. Watchmaking is a craft that is passed down from one watchmaker to the next. So you can actually build on somebody else's lifetime of knowledge. This way of learning is complex, and it makes people feel as though the information is being guarded, when really, I don't believe so. I think any watchmaker out there is happy to share their knowledge. There's just very few of them, and they're very busy. The watchmaking school I went to was paid for by a large Swiss company. If I was to have to pay for that education, it would cost me over $45,000 just for the schooling. And that's really just the beginning. Watchmaking in its simplest form requires very little. It could be done without any electronic devices, but that really isn't modern watchmaking. Modern watchmaking has become quite a bit more complex, with all sorts of CNC machines, all sorts of electronic timing devices, very fancy, very accurate tools, and lots of equipment. But restoration done in the old way with vintage or even antique watchmaking equipment could be relatively inexpensive. It's hard to find the equipment, but when you do, you could actually learn a lot from figuring out how it works and how to make watch parts. Even just going through old broken watches and figuring out what is broken or what parts are missing. That's an opportunity to learn. And if you can find another watchmaker to speak to about it, that's even better. So with very few watchmakers out there today, and very few opportunities for watchmaking school available, and so many of the things that we use daily in a watchmaking workshop being rare just because there are so few watchmakers, that's all driving the cost of a watch and a watchmaking education up. The knowledge isn't necessarily secret, but it's hard to find people to even talk to. I think the biggest barrier to becoming a watchmaker is actually finding other watchmakers.